Welcome to the service on behalf of Monton Unitarian Church for Sunday, the 18th of July, as we consider how, with the breaking of lockdown, we can move forward in hope. Nathan Ryan writes, "Be it real or metaphor, whatever is in your backpack or your briefcase or your purse or your pocket that you've brought into this sanctuary of time that is weighing you down, leave it behind. Whatever you are carrying that is keeping you distracted or caught up in shame or guilt or hopelessness, leave it behind. If you need it, it will still be there when we're done. But for this hour, just let it go. Come into this time with open hearts. Come into this time with a soul that has remembered how to be tender again. Come into this place with a renewed hope for this world. Come into this place ready to build a world we have always been worthy of and always dreamed of. We light this chalice to affirm that new light is ever waiting to break through to enlighten our ways. That new truth is ever waiting to break through to illumine our minds. And that new love is ever waiting to break through to warm our hearts. May we be open to this light and to the rich possibilities that it brings us. So let us join together in a time of prayer. And this was written by Elizabeth Buki. Spirit of life, love which holds us, we gather in reverence and thanks for you. We are grateful for the gift of another breath, and for each moment of connection, beauty and truth. Cry with us in our pain for our world. Remind us that we are loved just as we are. Remind us that we are connected with all that is. Remind us that we do not journey alone. Give us what we need for today. Call us back to our promises, commitments and values. Help us love ourselves and each other, and to show that love in our actions. Make us instruments of justice, equity and compassion, and free us from all that is evil. For we declare that life and love are stronger than tyranny and fear, that a world of beauty and love is coming, and we must shape it together. Amen. This initial half-story, half-reflection was written by Molly Hoosh-Gordon, and I've added on to it a bit. Most of you will know, or at least know of, the book The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, or you've seen the film. You remember how Lucy Pevensey discovers Narnia. Lucy's looking for the perfect place to hide and opens up the door to a big wardrobe. She goes through the door and into the back of the wardrobe, and suddenly she's in a whole other world. A magical world with witches and fauns and talking beavers. Wouldn't it be amazing if there was a magical world behind every door? When Lucy opened the door to Narnia, it didn't look like anything special. It was just a boring door to a wardrobe full of coats. But across its threshold was magic. Lucy already had a foot in Narnia before she quite realised what was happening. Many of the thresholds in our lives are like this. We don't know that we're crossing into another world until we're already halfway there. The door of a church takes us down a pathway of growth we might never have expected. The door of the doctor's office suddenly opens out into a life with a hard diagnosis. A restaurant door opens onto a first date and echoes forward into the relationship of a lifetime. Or a beloved person's door closes behind you and sends you out into the world heartbroken. The door to a library, or a gym, or a dance studio introduces you to a life's passion you might not have otherwise discovered. We cross these thresholds every day of our lives, for good and for ill, in joy, in sorrow, in bittersweet truth. Even our own front door is a great threshold, no matter how familiar the worlds within and without may seem. Given our lives' reality of constant change, every day we open the same old door again, only to step out into a world that is new since the day before. In this way, there is a new world behind every door, awaiting our discovery if only we will encounter it as such. We are at the threshold of a door today. The door to a world that is beginning to move past a pandemic, although there are many of us who are still worried and not wanting to throw all caution to the wind. So while from next week we will be singing again and sending around the collection bowl and enjoying coffees together on Tuesdays as well as Sundays, others of us will still want to keep going with masks and social distancing. And that's okay. We need to respect where each person is at this time. Because while some bits of this new world will seem familiar, it is not the original world we are going back to. Both it and us ourselves have changed. We've mentioned Narnia's door through the wardrobe. Another story that I love and have to mention at this point, as I know I have done before, is The Lord of the Rings. With its long journey, with its highs, meeting the elves at Rivendell and Lothlorien, and its lows, with some rather nasty orcs. And then there's that beautiful song that is sung by Bilbo that really captures that sense of entering into the unknown. We don't know quite the future that we are walking into, but we are on our way, whether carefree or cautious, confident or circumspect. And the song, with a slightly croaky voice, goes like this. The road goes ever on and on, down from the door where it began. Now far ahead the road has gone, and I must follow if I can, pursuing it with eager feet, until it joins some larger way, where many paths and errands meet, and whither then I cannot say. Richard S. Gilbert is one of my favourite writers. I have many, I know. And this piece of his is called The Chalice of Our Being. Each morning we hold out our chalice of being, to be filled with the graces of life that abound. Air to breathe, food to eat, companions to love, beauty to behold, art to cherish, causes to serve. They come in ritual procession, these gifts of life. Whether we deserve them, we cannot know or say, for they are poured out for us. Our task is to hold steady the chalice of our being. We carry the chalice with us as we go, either meandering aimlessly or with destination in our eye. We share its abundance, if we have any sense, reminding others as we remind ourselves of the contents of the chalice we do not deserve. Water from living streams fills it, if only we hold it out faithfully. We give back, if we can, something of ourselves. Some love, some beauty, some grace, some gift. We give back in gratitude, if we can, something like what is poured into our chalice of being, for those who abide with us and will follow. Each morning we hold out the chalice of our being, to receive, to carry, and to give back. So let's join together again in a time of prayer. And this was written by Martha L. Munson. Wendell Berry wrote, "For a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free. In this time of meditation, may you rest in the grace of the world and be free. In weakness, may you sense the strength of the eternal hills and rest in the grace of the world. In failure, may you be upheld like the buoyancy of water and rest in the grace of the world. In limitation, may you remember that the choices may be as great as the expanse of the sky, and rest in the grace of the world. In insecurity, May you feel the solid earth beneath your feet and rest in the grace of the world. In despair, may you hear the joy in birds singing and rest in the grace of the world. In fear, may you feel the warmth of the sun and rest in the grace of the world. For a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free. So be it. May we rest in the grace of the world and be free. Amen. Today, we stand on a threshold. Assuming that the government doesn't make a new announcement between now and Monday morning, of course, and I'm not totally discounting that possibility. But I remember way back at the beginning of March 2020, when we were aware that things were going wrong in a way we hadn't seen before. I remember doing a service reflecting on ways we might approach the pandemic, how we might try to survive the storm ahead. We thought about the fear that people were feeling for their health, for their families, for society, for their jobs and livelihoods. At the time, we were watching people panic buying toilet roll, of all things, and tomato puree and pasta. And I said back then that we were a community that professed to put love of others beyond everything else, and that more than anything else we needed to stand witness for that throughout whatever came our way. And each of us, in our own ways, tried to do that. Staying in touch with our own group of family and friends within our congregation, supporting Spirit of Salford or our local food banks, signing up to be support workers on the phone calls for the NHS, whatever it was that each of us were capable of with regard to our health, our time, our abilities, our resources. And now, here we are, at least beginning to approach, we hope, the end of the pandemic, with most of the restrictions that have been in place being lifted tomorrow. Whatever we feel about the rightness or wrongness of the timings of that. Next week in our church we will celebrate by singing some of our best hymns. If there's a particular one you would like us to consider for that, please let us know. But some of us may prefer to sit a bit of a distance away and keep our masks on. And we need to totally respect that choice. Many of us have been slowly beginning to share hugs and handshakes again, and we may feel even more emboldened to do so now that we feel that most of us here have had at least one vaccine, most of us two. But many others will still not feel comfortable with any form of personal contact. Not a hug, not a handshake, not even less than 2 meters distance. And again, we need to totally respect that. And some very vulnerable ones who have been shielding for months and over a year may still be trying to find the courage to step outside of their own front doors. and we need to give them the time and support and encouragement to do that. And we need to keep our eyes on that purpose of ours, that putting of the love of others before everything else. We need to take time by ourselves or with others here to reflect on who we are and how we are, and what ways we can find that enable us to continue bearing that witness. Because it's not always easy. As these words by Linda J. Hoddy remind us and encourage us at the same time. She writes, "Enter with me that still place within, the centre, where we find not only our inmost selves, but also our connection to the farthest reaches of the universe. Here we confront our aspirations and our failings. Though we seek always for our lives to be full of goodness, we sometimes lack courage to right the injustices that confront us. Though we seek always to be generous, sometimes our fears cause us to be greedy. Though we seek always to walk the moral high ground, sometimes we judge others too quickly and too harshly. Though we seek always to understand the larger mysteries, sometimes doubt causes us to lose faith in our purpose. Here, in this space made sacred by our shared lives and our shared yearnings, may we find new courage, new generosity of spirit, forgiveness given and received, and rededication to the higher purposes of our lives." At the end of that service, before we closed, back in March last year, I found myself thinking that when faced with an atmosphere of fear, it is easy to get swept away in it until it drowns out all other thoughts. But there is a difference between giving in to fear and taking precautions, but then accepting that after that, what will be, will be. I will never say that we do not take precautions when needed, because those are our ways of showing that we love those who are vulnerable. But I do say that once we have done all we can, we need to be brave enough to let go of the fear and to take hold of that overwhelming sense of love that will give us the courage to move forward with hope and compassion. Because at the end of the day, we have the time that we have. And once all the possible precautions have been put in place, there is only one thing left for us to do, and that is to live with as much love and as much passion as we can. Doing what we can to help those who need our help right now. There are, I am sure, many people who say that they wish they did not have to have been around for this sort of situation. Why in my day, they question, why couldn't this happen in someone else's time? And I understand that, on one hand. But on the other, well, what a chance it has been to witness to the power of beloved community. Community that looks out for the other, that supports and holds, rather than snatches and grabs and hoards. And afterwards, when this pandemic has paled into the history books, what will we have learned? What lessons will it have taught us, and how will it have changed how we live? I hope that if nothing else, it will have shown us that life is a precious gift, a privilege, a thing of highest worth, and that for the time it is ours, however long or short that time is, it is to be used to the full. Not to maximise what we can get, but to maximise what we can give. I said that back then, in March 2020. I still believe it now. And I finished that service with this prayer by Rebecca Edmiston Lang. She writes, "Some people say that Jesus is the light of the world. We all can be the light of the world if we seek to act in ways that enlarge the realms of love and justice. When we share another's pain or offer a comforting ear to a friend in need, we are the light of the world. When we give bread to the hungry or support ways to house the homeless, we are the light of the world. When we fight temptations to wrongdoing within ourselves and treat our neighbours with respect, we are the light of the world. When we try to overcome differences with understanding and solve conflict with peaceful means, we are the light of the world. When we look for the good in other people and in ourselves, we are the light of the world. When we do not stay quiet in the face of prejudice, but speak our minds firmly and gently, we are the light of the world. When we fight despair within ourselves and side with hope, we are the light of the world. When we use our powers justly and in the service of love for humanity, we are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. When tomorrow comes, and all the tomorrows thereafter, keep taking care. Keep taking care of yourself and of the people around you. Keep bearing witness to the love and the compassion and the community that lives within you and around you. And as we set off down this road from our doorway into the future that we cannot predict, may this community and this love hold us all safe. Our final blessing is written by Andrea Hawkins Camper. May we see all as it is, and may it all be as we see it. May we be the ones to make it as it should be, for if not us, who? If not now, when? This is answering the cry of justice with the work of peace. This is redeeming the pain of history with the grace of wisdom. This is the work we are called to do, and this is the call we answer now. To be the barrier and the bridge, to be the living embodiment of our principles, to be about the work of building the beloved community, to be a people of intention and a people of conscience. Wherever your road is taking you at this moment in time, and wherever it takes you tomorrow and in the days and weeks ahead, stay safe, stay strong, and know without a shadow of a doubt that you are loved.